Hi, I'm Bobby Olvera Jr., President of the Long Beach Board of Harbor Commissioners. I would like to express our sincere gratitude for the significant support and investments from our funding partners at the federal, state, and local levels for helping us to build the Pier B on-dock rail support facility. Your investments are key to creating this state-of-the-art rail junction, which will provide shippers with even more reasons to choose the Port of Long Beach as their gateway of choice. By expanding Pier B from 12 to 48 tracks, we'll be able to grow from 7 trains a day to 17. We'll be building longer trains more frequently, giving our customers the advantage they need to succeed, and making this port even more competitive. The groundbreaking of the Pier B project is a historic milestone that will bring new jobs and other economic benefits to Long Beach, the region, and the state. I especially want to acknowledge current and past port staff and harbor commissioners for your dedication to bringing this visionary project to reality. Thank you to everyone for their support as we build the port of the future.
Hi, I'm Assemblymember Josh Lowenthal, and I'm incredibly proud to represent California's 69th Assembly District, which includes the Port of Long Beach. I wish I could be there today with you all to celebrate the groundbreaking for America's Green Gateway, the Pier B on-dock rail support facility. This significant investment in rail demonstrates the port's overwhelming commitment to moving goods as sustainably as possible. Thank you to all the dedicated port staff, trades, union siblings, and advocates who've come together to make this project a reality. An improved rail network will reduce the number of trucks on the road driving through our neighborhoods. Fewer trucks will lead to lower emissions, helping our planet and neighboring communities thrive. I want to congratulate the Port of Long Beach for this incredible undertaking and for continuing to make bold commitments to our community and goods movement partners across the state.
It's critically important that our ports continue to strengthen their competitiveness and address the community's concerns about health impacts from operations. The ambitious Pier B facility can help our ports defend against the next unexpected supply chain disruption. Building in this capacity with an eye on sustainability is a huge win for Los Angeles County and beyond. We don't have to choose between having good jobs and economic security or clean air. We can have both.
On behalf of the Maritime Administration, I'm honored to join Secretary Pete Buttigieg to celebrate this historic day. I want to first thank the Port of Long Beach for inviting me to share a few words with you today. The Port of Long Beach was one of the first ports I visited as Maritime Administrator. I joined then Supply Chain Envoy General Steve Lyons on that visit, and we managed to experience every mode of transportation in and around the Port of Long Beach in a single day. During that visit, I learned that once you've seen one port, well, you've seen one port, which is why being here today, virtually, makes me very excited about this groundbreaking event for the Pier B on-dock rail project. I'm also proud to highlight MARAD's support for the Pier B project. We are administering historic investments in our nation's ports and waterways, all made possible by President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law. Through our Port Infrastructure Development Program, MARAD has contributed over $100 million to this project alone, a critical initiative for building much-needed resilience in our nation's freight transportation network. As supply chain disruptions are unpredictable, it's essential for ports to be prepared. Pier B stands as a major gateway for trade, poised to grow sustainable cargo flow for the coming years. This investment ensures that we remain robust and responsive to the demands of global commerce and helps secure our nation's economic future. Congratulations to everyone involved in making this project a reality, and thank you.
Hello, I'm Tokes Elmashakin, California's Transportation Secretary. I regret that I'm unable to join you in person to celebrate this momentous occasion, the groundbreaking of the Pier B on-dock rail project at the Port of Long Beach. You know, this is one of the signature projects upgrading California's nation-leading goods movement system, helping to reduce pollution, and create a stronger, more dynamic supply chain. It also impacts our core four of safety, equity, climate action, and economic prosperity. Almost exactly a year ago, I was at the Port of Long Beach on behalf of Governor Gavin Newsom to announce our historic Port and Freight Infrastructure Program Awards, also known as PFIP, with this project receiving more than $383 million, the largest grant we awarded from the program. Since then, the Port of Long Beach has received hundreds of millions of dollars in federal grants from the bipartisan infrastructure law. Our appreciation to the Biden-Harris administration and Secretary Buttigieg for the support to California with these additional funds. I can't think of a better example of how historic state and federal investments are working together to benefit all Americans. Congratulations to Port of Long Beach CEO Mario Cordero and his team, Secretary Buttigieg, and everyone involved in today's big event. I look forward to your continued partnership and can't wait to join you to celebrate this project's completion in the future. Thank you, and again, a major congratulations.
I'm Metro CEO Stephanie Wiggins, and I'm excited to join the community in breaking ground on Pier B at the Port of Long Beach. Metro was pleased to provide over $26 million in funding for this critical project from our local Measure Our Sales Tax and federal CMAQ and STP local dollars, which helped the port to leverage over $600 million in additional federal and state funds. Pier B will help ease congestion on our roadways, reduce carbon emissions, and improve air quality in neighborhoods around the port. It'll also help us optimize the usage of the Alameda Corridor and reduce the need for additional truck traffic on our highways and arterials, meaning less traffic for area residents, including Metro's transit riders. Thank you to the Port of Long Beach, CEO Mario Cordero, and all the funding partners for helping us make this day a reality. Go Port of Long Beach and go Metro.
Please direct your attention to the Pacific Harbor Line Jewel zero-emissions locomotive and rail car, now arriving on the track directly behind the stage, and enjoy the start of the live program.
Well, hello, and a very good morning to all of you. I'm Noel Hasagaba, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Operating Officer here at the Port of Long Beach, and today it's my great honor to serve as your MC. To begin the program, I would like to invite all who are able to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may take your seats. A huge thanks to all who contributed to the commemorative video that you all viewed, which was produced just for today's event. All of our video contributors are dedicated to the success of the Port of Long Beach and to this groundbreaking project that we celebrate today. We appreciate all of you. You know, it's been said that it takes a village, and an extraordinary project like this takes many people from many villages across the country. So before we hear from our speakers, I want to acknowledge and welcome elected officials and some of our VIPs who are with us today. Now, believe it or not, this is the hardest part of the program, because for me, it means I have to make sure I read every name and I pronounce the names correctly. But for you, it means you have to hold your applause until the very end. So I don't know who has a harder task, but let's collaborate. Beginning with the U.S. Department of Transportation, and you will be hearing from some of our VIPs in a moment, Secretary Pete Buttigieg. We're not collaborating. But our secretary deserves a hand. Yeah. Also with us is Congressman Robert Garcia. Congresswoman Nanette Diaz-Barragan. Congresswoman Grace Napolitano. And Congresswoman Linda Sanchez. We also have some state elected officials, Senator Stephen Bradford, Assemblymember Mike Gibson. We have some state appointed officials with us, beginning with Undersecretary Mark Tollefson, Director of GoBiz, Dee Dee Myers, Caltrans Executive Director Tony Tavares, California Transportation Commission Executive Director Tanisha Taylor, and also with us, CARB and South Coast AQMD Board Member Gideon Krakoff. We have several local elected officials from the City of Long Beach, Mayor Rex Richardson, Councilmember Christina Duggan, Councilmember Megan Kerr, Councilmember Roberto Uranga, Councilmember Al Austin, City Attorney Don McIntosh, and our City Prosecutor Doug Halbert. From the Long Beach Board of Harbor Commissioners, President Bobby O'Vera Jr., Vice President Bonnie Lowenthal, Commissioner Stephen Neal, and Commissioner Sharon Weissman. We also have from the City of Highland, Mayor Pro Tem and AQMD Board Member Larry McCallan, City of South Pasadena Council Member and AQMD Board Member Michael Cacchiotti, City of Linwood Council Member Oscar Flores, City of Maywood Council Member Frank Garcia, City of Paramount Council Member Vilma Cuellar Stallings, and I just noticed the council member from the Los Angeles City Council, the 1-5, Tim McCosker. And I also noticed Wayne Nastry, Executive Officer for AQMD. We also have a Port Commissioner from the Port of Hueneme, Selena Zacharias. We've got several Board of Trustees members from the Long Beach City College Board of Trustees, Herlinda Chico, Uduak Joe Intuk, Sunny Zia, and Superintendent President Dr. Mike Munoz. And from the El Camino College District Trustee, Brett C.S. Roberts. Accompanying our secretary, we have several federal agency staff, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Multimodal Freight, Allison Dane Camden. The Director of Mid-Pacific Gateway Region for MARAD, Gus Hine. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Los Angeles, Long Beach, Seaport Port Director, Africa Bell. CalSTA Deputy Division Chief, Sujaya Kalenstein. CalSTA Deputy Secretary for Freight for Policy, Christine Casey. ACTA CEO, Mike Louie. LA Metro CEO, Stephanie Wiggins. And I see SCAG Executive Director, Komi Ajaisi. Also with us are some former harbor commissioners from the Port of Long Beach, Alex Belhumer and Rich Dines. Labor's in the house. We have leadership and members, brothers and sisters from IBW Local 11, ILWU Locals 13, 63, and 94, the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, LA and Orange County Building Trades Council. And we have the Western States Regional Council of Carpenters. And of course, we want to recognize our rail partners, BNSF Railway, Union Pacific, and Pacific Harbor Line. Great job. So just for the record, I kept my part of the deal. You clapped after every name, but you know what? They're VIPs, they deserve it, right? Let's give everyone another round. I want to call out our Class 1 rail partners, BNSF Railway and Union Pacific, for bringing their locomotives today, and to our local short line, Pacific Harbor Line, for bringing its trailblazing zero-emission switcher engine called the Progress Rail Joule. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you see behind me is the only zero-emissions locomotive switcher in North America. So thank you to our rail partners for supporting the event and for being our partners in this project. You know, what a great day to be at the Port of Long Beach, and a great way to begin our program as we celebrate together the historic start of construction of the Pier B on-dock rail support facility, also known as America's Green Gateway. Founded in 1911, the Port of Long Beach has long been a leader in cargo movement, driving the local and regional economies and providing good-paying jobs. But as times change, so does our business. We are literally building for the future. It's been said that the best way to predict the future is by creating it. And here in Long Beach, we're creating new, innovative, and sustainable ways to move cargo. And the Pier B on-dock rail support facility is the latest and greatest example. On-dock rail is when cargo is moved directly to and from marine terminals by rail, and a single dock rail train can stand in for 750 truck trips. More cargo moved by train means more efficiency in cargo flows, regionally and nationally, more robust supply chains, fewer truck trips, low and no emissions operations, cleaner air, and a better quality of life for our neighbors and our residents along our freight corridors. Yes, and you're going to hear more from our speakers. Those will be some of the positive economic and environmental ripple effects of America's Green Gateway. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now to introduce our first speaker. He is an enthusiastic and effective champion for Long Beach and for our port. Please welcome Long Beach Mayor Rex Richardson.
Let's hear from Noel Hasagaba and the incredible team at the Port of Long Beach, America's Green Gateway. Secretary, Long Beach showed up, the region showed up for you, but also for the incredible work done by this team here at the Port of Long Beach. Let's hear it for this great turnout here. And I know it's hard to find, so you guys left early to get here on time. It is indeed a great day for the Port of Long Beach. Today we break ground on the Pier B rail facility. And this is a project that's only made possible based on partnerships and support from our federal government. And Long Beach is notable, having received the largest single investment of any port in America, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration and Secretary Pete of Department of Transportation. Let's hear it for our leaders, the Biden-Harris administration. This project would not be possible without the leadership from Washington, D.C. And we work together as a team. We have some strong advocates in Congressman Garcia and Congressman Barragan standing up for Long Beach. We work together as a team, and that's why we deliver results. Now, we rode over here in a pretty cool train car, you know, a historic train car being pulled by an exciting locomotive, you know, zero emission, first one in the country. But it didn't start out that way. 113 years ago, our port was officially dedicated by Mayor Charles Wyndham. And the first shipment was 280,000 feet of redwood timber. Now, a lot has changed in that 113 years. I'll tell you, a century ago, we were a very different city. We were the fastest growing city in America 100 years ago, based on an oil boom. And for the last century, Long Beach has transformed and continued to transform. And I will tell you, today, what we see today is we're standing in front of, and we didn't anticipate this 113 years ago, but we're here at the busiest port in the United States, having just broken a record in June, the busiest port in the United States, thanks to the hard work of all of you and the hard work of ILWU longshoremen here in the city of Long Beach. Let's hear it for the working families helping keep our port moving. I will also say that why is Long Beach continuing to lead? It's not because of our fidelity only to the economy. It's because our dual fidelity and commitment, not just to economic progress, but also to environmental leadership and progress. This concept that you can't do both, we reject that. We believe that that is the pathway forward. We can and we should do the same. Pier B, it realigns our port. It connects our cargo ships directly to 30 major rail lines across 85 congressional districts. To put it in perspective, this brings our port up to nearly 40% rail capacity. That is well beyond any port in the United States. And what this means is when ships bring in the cargo and they're placed on rail, it has multiple benefits for our communities. It means cleaner air and fewer truck trips for communities in West Long Beach, all the way along the 710. It means making an investment into our port, into efficiency, and making sure that we are making a real difference here. But it also means that we are stepping up and creating economic opportunity. Last year, I was proud to join our leadership in the Port of Long Beach in signing a historic 10-year project labor agreement. That means the work done with this project will create 1,100 union jobs, local union jobs, that help put food on the table and keep roofs over their heads for our local working families. So there's multiple benefits when we invest in projects like this. It's a win-win: clean air, less congestion, and more union jobs for our communities. I will tell you, this was certainly a significant investment by the federal government. It was a significant investment also by the state and our region. So we want to thank the Department of Transportation. We want to thank Transportation Secretary Pete. We want to thank Governor Newsom. We want to thank all of our partners for this great spirit of collaboration that helps make projects like this happen. It's time for Long Beach to continue to lean into our leadership position because of our commitment to the environment, because of our fidelity to economic progress that is inclusive. It's time for us to continue to build a greener supply chain. It's time for us to demonstrate leadership here at America's Green Gateway. I want to say that this is not the only project. We have to do this. There's a whole port that we have to electrify, a whole port that we have to transition to clean energy, and all of that means it represents more opportunities for our Long Beach residents. So thank you so much to the many partners. Thank you all for joining us, and let's get this show on the road.
I told you he was enthusiastic, didn't I? Our next speaker, you saw a few moments ago on video, but you get to hear from him live now. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the president of the Long Beach Board of Harbor Commissioners, our governing body at the Port of Long Beach, Bobby O'Vera, Jr.
Thank you, Noel, and thank you, Mayor Richardson. It's always a pleasure to have you here in the port talking about what's good for Long Beach. And Secretary, thank you for being here in the greatest port authority in the greatest city in the United States. So on behalf of, let me say that again, the greatest port authority in the United States. Now, on behalf of my fellow harbor commissioners, we're immensely grateful for all of you that are here today and for your support and encouragement as we transform our greatest port of America and our premier international trade gateway. And that's been a process that's not just about today, but it's been a process years and years and years in the making with staff and commissioners and elected officials Well, I've had the mic turned off of me before, but that was weird. So thank you all for being here. And especially, as the mayor mentioned, to our funding partners. It's not only the money, but it's the trust and the belief in our vision, in the Long Beach vision, in the Long Beach way, that is so warming. And the city, this port, we will not let you down. What we build here will be a shining star, both nationally and globally. Now, at a time when, and we see it on the news every day, there are many worthy infrastructure projects across this nation. You've chosen to be here today. And again, that demonstrates your faith in our leadership, our elected leadership, and the vision that we have here at the Port of Long Beach. And these investments will help us transform the goods movement here in Long Beach and for the Port Authority and the San Pedro Bay Complex. And that's going to be an example for port authorities, not only in this nation, but worldwide. And again, with the mantra that the city and the Port of Long Beach will lead the way and everybody else can get in line behind us as we show the path forward to great port authorities and great cities. Now, our Pier B on-dock rail support facility will expand and enhance our rail capacity, and that's going to drive commerce. It's going to strengthen economies within our region. It's going to boost our competitiveness as a port authority, and it's going to create jobs. Let me say that again. It's going to create jobs. All the while the Port of Long Beach strives for environmental transformation and sustainability. This is all happening simultaneously. It's not just a one-trick pony here. Now, as a person who many of you know, I've worked up and down the ports my entire life, since the late 80s. And I can say with pride that those of you that are sitting in the audience today are elected officials from both the state, federal, and local governments. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for helping us expand our Pier B on-dock rail support facility and for showing unwavering support to our waterfront workforce and to the goods movement industry members across the board who work day in and day out to keep our economy moving. It's a great day here in the city of Long Beach. It's a great day for the Port of Long Beach, but one of many to come, because the Port of Long Beach is moving, it's growing, it's building, and we will stand head and shoulders above every other port authority in this great nation. So thank you all for being here today, and thank you.
Thank you very much, President Olvera. And a big thanks to you and our harbor commissioners for your visionary leadership and strong support of projects like these. Our next speaker is someone who needs no introduction. He makes sure that our 550-plus teammates are on track, pun full intended, on track with our mission. And that is my boss, our CEO here at the Port of Long Beach, Mario Cordero.
Thank you, Noel. For those of you who know me, you'll understand what I'm about to say. I'm feeling real good right now. This event is bigger and better than being at a Dodger game. Mr. Secretary, welcome to the Green Port. We are honored by your presence for the groundbreaking of the most impactful operational endeavor the Port of Long Beach has undertaken, the Pier B on-dock rail support facility. It is a game changer for the national supply chain system. At the State of the Port this January, I declared 2024 the Year of Rail, a deciding year where we launched the construction of the largest inter-harbor rail development of any seaport in the nation. Our investment of $1.5 billion in this Pier B project is not solely for the benefit of the Port of Long Beach. It's for the benefit of the San Pedro Bay Complex. It's for the benefit of the region. It's for the benefit of the supply chain, affirming the Port of Long Beach's commitment to maximize container velocity as we move closer to operational and environmental transformation. The project will add 130,000 feet of new track, build 36 new support tracks, and more than double the number of trains that will be not only doubled, longer, increase cargo velocity, and boost terminal capacity. And with this extra rail capacity, we can take more containers to and from the docks by train, shifting cargo to rail and off the freeways. Stephanie, where are you? Off the 710 freeway. When the Pier B project is complete, 1/3 of our cargo will move by on-dock rail. During construction, we'll generate more than 1,100 well-paying jobs. Not just jobs, good-paying jobs. These improvements will lower the cost of doing business in the port and make our port even more attractive as America's green cargo gateway. I am pleased to say that we now have commitments of $643 million in grants to help the state of the rail facility now become a reality. A mix of federal, state, and regional, local transportation funding, and there will be more investments and more partnerships to come. And I want to, as I conclude, I want to thank our funding partners, the U.S. Department of Transportation, the U.S. Maritime Administration, and of course, all that was done with the Biden Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. Also, the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Authority. So thank you all for your investments in the Green Port. And as Noel referenced, I also want to thank all the staff people at the Port of Long Beach, the engineers, everyone involved who made this reality after many, many, many years of working the concept and now bringing it into fruition. And Mr. Secretary, again, thank you so much. And I'll end by saying, we could talk about Pier B all afternoon, but some of us, you don't know exactly the context and the greatness of what this project will bring. So we're gonna now show you a video to give you a little bit more context. And hopefully you'll feel as good as I feel right now. We're ready to go. Long Beach is leading. San Pedro Bay Complex will continue to be the largest and most significant port authority complex in the nation. Thank you so much.
What does it take to keep the economy running and goods flowing across oceans and continents? It takes ships, delivering goods to and from ports around the world. It takes ports that can unload those goods off ship and onto trains. It takes a transcontinental railroad linking those ports with cities across the nation. And it takes a fleet of trucks to finally bring those goods to market. That's a supply chain. Where does a green supply chain start? At the Port of Long Beach, with ships plugged into shore power, with the cleanest fleet of cargo handling equipment in the nation, with a new generation of zero-emissions trucks, and with a massive investment into one of the most critical railroad networks in the nation. Enter the Pier B on-dock rail support facility, an expanded rail yard that will link the port's existing on-dock rail into the regional and national rail system. It's a major improvement, one that will make the port more efficient, streamlined, and sustainable. The new facility will quadruple the number of tracks at the Pier B rail yard. Those new tracks will be able to handle 17 trains a day. That includes trains up to 2 miles long that are double stacked with 2 large containers per car. This will boost annual capacity to nearly 5 million containers. And a direct connection with the Alameda Corridor and the nation's railway means those goods will leave the port without adding to traffic on local roads. That's good news for residents, industry, and anyone in or around the harbor area. The Pier B on-dock rail support facility is a critical upgrade to an essential part of the global supply chain, connecting the port to 30 major rail hubs across the country. Adding more on-dock rail will reduce delays, speeding goods to market and lowering costs. imports flow more smoothly inland, and exports of American-made goods reach customers around the world faster and at less cost. Building the facility will create more than 1,100 jobs locally during construction, and the Pier B project strengthens the port's competitiveness, helping to attract cargo and sustain the more than 575,000 Southern California jobs connected to Port of Long Beach trade. Nationwide, trade moving through the Port of Long Beach generates 2.6 million jobs. But why rail? Because one trip by train equals 750 trips by truck. Because trains can move a ton of cargo, nearly 500 miles, on a single gallon of fuel. And because moving cargo by rail reduces greenhouse gas emissions by 75%. It's a cleaner alternative to routes that send cargo through the Panama or Suez canals, with a 19% reduction in emissions. The Pier B on-dock rail support facility will be key to shrinking the supply chain's carbon footprint, improving service in and out of the port, bettering air quality, and providing good-paying jobs to the local workforce. Those benefits will be felt here in Long Beach, across the country, and across the global supply chain. The way to lower emissions, keep cargo flowing, and maintain the Port of Long Beach as one of the world's premier seaports is by rail.
You know, it's hard to describe a project this complex in words, so that video nailed it, didn't it? Amen. Well, the project is so complex, I call it Pier Beast, right? But the better name is America's Grain Gateway. And Mario, thank you again for your kind words and for recognizing all of our teammates. There are many here, past and present, and without, again, their hard work and leadership, we wouldn't be here. And we're going to continue to work on that Pier B transformation. Our next speaker is no stranger to the port or to the city of Long Beach. He is a former mayor of the city of Long Beach. And he is now, and he continues to be, one of our greatest boosters everywhere he is. And he has become a powerful advocate for our port in Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Robert Garcia.
Hey, y'all, how we doing? It's first, I just want to say it's always good to be home. Always good to be home. And a lot less craziness here than back in D.C. I want to start by saying a few things. One is, Secretary, we are so grateful to your leadership, to your strong advocacy for America's ports, for your commitment to the city of Long Beach, and for the drive that you have every day to ensure that the projects get done across the country. I got to know the Secretary, Pete, when we were both mayors and served on the U.S. Conference of Mayors together and ran around as mayors doing the best that we could for our cities. And I remember when the Secretary then had, wrapping up his term as mayor, got selected by the President to be the Secretary of Transportation. And I remember when I heard the news, I was like, yes. And for all of us that know how important it is to have mayors in these roles, and especially as Secretary of Transportation, is so important because he understands what investment means for cities and communities. And so a huge thank you, Secretary, to you and your entire team for making this reality. Let's give them another big, huge round of applause. And of course, I know he was mentioned earlier, and while not here, he's always here in spirit. This project also would not be possible without the governor. And Governor Newsom, Dee, thank you for being here. I know his team is here. We're going to hear from the state perspective. But the governor has been a partner in this project from day one. We've been talking to the governor about this project back when I was mayor. And his advocacy, his commitment on the funding side, and his support through his advocacy in D.C. has also been critical. Him and I just spoke about the project. I know he sends his best regards. Let's give the governor and his entire team a big round of applause. And of course, to the mayor, to the entire team at the port, you're making this happen. Bobby, you all know that Bobby, of course, is our harbor commissioner now, but is about to become the president of the international ILWU across the country and world. And so at least that's, where we're headed. And so thank you for your leadership. Today feels like full circle for a lot of us, certainly does for me. I remember advocating for this project with Mario, 2 members of Congress when I was mayor, then advocating for this project as a member of Congress, and now being here representing, of course, the Port of Long Beach is really full circle. And I just want to remind us that you've heard a lot of great things today about the port, the jobs, the ability for this to impact the country as it relates to cargo. But I also want to leave us with one other critical piece of why this project is important, and that's the people that it's going to actually impact in and around the Port of Long Beach complex. And we should never forget that the single most important piece of all of this is the impacts, the health impacts, and the ability for families in and around West Long Beach and the city of Long Beach to breathe healthier air, to be free of cancer and asthma, to know that they can raise their children in a community that is cleaner and safer. And so today is a day to celebrate for the economy, for jobs, but I think most importantly, it's a day to celebrate the tens of thousands of families that live all around this complex, who this project is going to directly impact the health of their family by making the port greener. And that's what today is all about, is supporting those families. Finally, I'll just say that this project still has, as Mario will tell you, a long way to go. We have critical funding partners that are here. LA County is a critical funding partner. Metro is an important funding partner of ours. The state, of course, DOT and those of us in Congress. But I want to end by just recognizing that this project would not be possible if it was not for the leadership of President Biden and the Biden-Harris administration for his incredible work. To get a bipartisan historic infrastructure package passed through a difficult Congress in a way that received both support from Democrats and Republicans. This is his proposal, ladies and gentlemen. He got this law done, and we're seeing the fruits of that hard work every single day across the country. So happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Congressman. We love your passion. We're so grateful for your leadership and your support. As the Congressman said, we're here because of many, many partners, among them the state of California. And we'd like to turn our attention now to our state government partner. Please welcome Undersecretary of the California State Transportation Agency, Mark Tollefson.
Good morning, everyone. Really appreciate the opportunity. Noel, thank you for that introduction. As mentioned, I'm Mark Tollefson. I'm the Undersecretary of the California State Transportation Agency, here on behalf of Governor Gavin Newsom, as well as our Transportation Secretary, Tokes Omashakin. So really appreciate all the speakers that came before me. But before I get into my remarks, I would like to recognize some of our state team that's here today. So I'd like to recognize Caltrans Director Tony Tavares, District Director Gloria Roberts, CTC Director Tanisha Taylor, as well as our CALSA Deputy Secretary for Freight, Christine Casey. Also, a special thanks to GoBiz Director Dee Dee Myers, as well as Trey Bradley. Her team has been such an incredible partner in all of this work. And a special welcome, obviously, to Secretary Buttigieg. Thank you for being here. So for the past several years, the strong partnership between the Newsom administration and the Biden-Harris administration has supported efficient freight operations here in California, America's most significant global trade gateway. 30% of all of America's containerized freight moves through the San Pedro Bay complex. So the efficient operation of these ports has massive impact not only on California, but the entire national supply chain. And it's growing. Between 2023 and 2050, the value of international commodities is expected to increase from 192 billion to 371 billion, a 93% increase. And shipments through California to other states are expected to increase in weight by almost 100% by the year 2050. Pretty incredible. So it's a true honor and privilege to be part of such growth in the related efforts to support our ports, to make them greener, more efficient, and more resilient. And our partnerships in this work have been essential at every turn. And I will admit, from the state perspective, that hasn't always been the case. The state's involvement could have been more in the past. I flash back about 2.5 years ago, where there are 109 ships queuing off the coast here. A real-life game of battleship playing out as the ports were navigating the pandemic and the ensuing supply chain crisis. However, with every crisis comes that opportunity. And seeing those challenges, Governor Newsom proposed a $1.2 billion package of port and freight infrastructure investments specifically intended to leverage our additional federal investments through the bipartisan infrastructure law to make our supply chain more resilient. That same $1.2 billion became our historic Port and Freight Infrastructure Program, or PFIP, which included $158 million for this Pier B on-dock rail project that we're here to celebrate today, our largest award from that program. Additionally, in 2022, the California Transportation Commission also made a $70 million investment through its Trade Corridor Enhancement Program. In total, over $228 million of state investment. And Secretary Buttigieg, when Secretary Omoshakin and I traveled to Washington, D.C. last summer with a delegation of port executives, we met with you and your team to make the case for additional federal investment to match this historic port and freight investment that California is making. And I will say, you have matched that and some. Really appreciate that opportunity. I'd like to express our gratitude for the $336 million of investment that USDOT has provided for this project within the past year. And as indicated by this funding, the Newsom administration and the Biden-Harris administration are in lockstep, making clean, equitable freight investments that reduce harmful emissions and improve safety in some of our nation's most polluted freight corridors. Investments in direct alignment with what we call our core four at the California State Transportation Agency, our core four priorities of safety, equity, climate action, and economic prosperity. When complete, the Pier B on-dock rail project is expected to eliminate roughly 146 million truck miles traveled and more than 5 million tons of carbon dioxide each year. Truly remarkable numbers that will benefit generations of all Californians. So with that, I'd again like to thank Secretary Buttigieg, the Port of Long Beach, our local government and private sector partners. Secretary Omoshakin and I look forward to working with you all to advance this and other clean freight projects in the months and years to come. Really excited to break ground with you all today. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thanks.
Thank you so much. By the way, this is why we're developing Pure Wind. Do you feel the wind? Yeah. Thank you so much, Undersecretary Tollefson. We truly value and appreciate the partnership and leadership of the state of California. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's my pleasure to introduce the person who's going to introduce our headliner today. She represents that vital workforce. We talk about projects, we talk about programs, we talk about initiatives, but it takes people to move containers. And this individual is the Executive Board Secretary of the Marine Clerks Association for the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, Local 63. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce to you Patricia Aguirre.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Noel, and thank you to everyone that made it possible today to have this wonderful event. Now, I've just been elected secretary of my local, but I've been working on the waterfront since 1994. I joined the union following in the footsteps of my father and both of my grandfathers. I was born here in Long Beach, went to school here in Long Beach, and currently live in Long Beach. But before being elected to the ILWU local, my job was that of a supercargo and a yard planner, both in the ports of Long Beach and LA, planning cargo coming off the vessels, off the train, and through the gate into our terminal. However, this is more than a job. It's a career that allows unionized workers to purchase homes in Southern California, raise families, all the while having the lifestyle that they want. And for me as a woman, it's independence, because true independence is economic independence, and this is what this job has afforded me. My brothers and sisters in union labor know that when unions succeed, America succeeds. During COVID, when a lot of Americans were able to stay home, the ILW workforce was not. We continued moving cargo at record amounts of goods through the Port of Long Beach and LA. America learned that ports and port workers are essential to our supply chain and our economy. And projects like this one we're celebrating today are not only an investment in the port, but an investment in all of us to keep doing the work and keep things running. And Secretary Pete Buttigieg is delivering on those investments. Since he took office in Washington in 2021, he's been a champion for maritime ports and devoted friend of unionized dock workers. He made his first official visit to the city of Long Beach in 2022 to see for himself all we were doing to alleviate the backlog of cargo vessels and expedite the movement of containerized cargo during the COVID pandemic. As he said at the time, issues that impact ports like Long Beach and Los Angeles are felt across the supply chain and across the country to communities like his own hometown of South Bend, Indiana. His partnerships and all the support from the Biden and Harris administration have been integral to our post-pandemic success and will play a big part in the development of America's Green Gateway. It is my honor to represent the Marine Clerks Association, ILW Local 63, and all of the ILWU and organized labor in introducing our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Long Beach welcome to the U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am Pete Buttigieg. I have the best job in the federal government. And the best part of that job is celebrating days like today. So thank you for the chance to join you. Thank you, Patricia, to you and to all of the workers you represent, the ILWU workers and other port workers who didn't have the option of coming in by Zoom during the dark days of the pandemic, who did so much to keep America's economy moving. And to all of the workers you represent, including those building trades workers. We're so excited about having the opportunity to work on this, and every other worker involved in the construction and operation of America's transportation systems. That is a big part of why this is called the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. We believe in those good-paying jobs, and so do you. Likewise, with all of the different hats that you wear, Bobby Alvera, thanks so much for what you do here. Thanks for all of the things that the Harbor Commission rightly takes great pride in. And you are right in saying that this investment represents a major vote of confidence in the excellent work and potential of this facility and everybody associated with it. Likewise, I want to recognize Mario Cordero for his extraordinary work on good days and tough days for America's supply chains, and your entire team have been terrific to work with. Congratulations on this grant. Mayor Richardson, thank you for welcoming us to the city, everything that you are rightly proud of in Long Beach. I often reflect that the job of mayor has only become more difficult and demanding since I proudly wore that title. But also, and I'm sure Robert would agree, sure it would have been nice back when we were mayor if there was $1 trillion infrastructure bill providing a wind at our back and doing our job led by the President of the United States. So hopefully you find we're making your job just a little bit easier. Every great day like this is a partnership, including a partnership with the state. So thank you, Mark, and thank you to everybody in Governor Newsom's administration who teams up with us on this and so many great projects like those I'll be with. And I want to recognize the extraordinary federal delegation that serves this community and this state. Senator Butler and Senator Padilla, Congressman Robert Garcia, who likewise I rejoiced when I learned he was coming to Congress because we need former mayors to bring that perspective. To Grace Napolitano, who I admire so much, and I don't just say that because she's on the committee that oversees me in our work. I think there are other members of the House who will be joining us later on today. You have just a formidable delegation here, and thank you for everything that you do, especially in these times. I've got twins, two and a half years old. Chasten and I have the privilege of raising. The only thing better than my day job is the job of being a dad. And as anybody who's had toddlers knows, bedtime routine gets to be a real thing right about this age. And something new made its way into our bedtime routine a few weeks ago. After we get them out of the tub and dry them off, and then we do the pajamas, and then we do the book, and then we do the second book, and then we do the third book, and then we do the story. And then we promise to tell the neighbors to be quiet, and tell the firefighter to be quiet, and tell the helicopter to be quiet. And then we check under the bed for monsters, and we check in the closet for dinosaurs, and then we count to 10, and then we do the 3 kisses. And then, just at what I thought would be the moment when we were turning the lights out and closing the door, both of them, especially our daughter, has begun saying, "Tell me about your work." Well, tell me your work, they say. And the first time this happened, I said, does hearing about my work help you go to sleep? And very sweetly, our little daughter said, yeah. And at first, I really struggled to do it. It's hard to say to a soon-to-be 3-year-old, like, well, tomorrow we're going to release a new NPRM, and then I'm testifying in the House committee. But then I started thinking, actually, the bigger and more important and more beneficial your work, the more it's the kind of thing you can even tell a 3-year-old about. And it was wonderful just a few days ago to be able to say when this moment came around in the bedtime routine, well, I'm going to get on an airplane, I'm going to go to Pennsylvania and help fix a bridge. Here she asked if I was bringing tape. I explained it was probably going to take more than tape. And then I was going to get on another plane and get to go to a place called California, where we're working together to help make trains better able to go up to the ships to get the things that come on the ships and bring them to all the houses, including ours. And it really is that simple. And it's that complicated, of course. An extraordinary effort that also is an extraordinary moment in the before and after picture of what has happened to America's supply chains in just a few short, disorienting years. Because so many of America's mental images, and certainly so many of the images in my own mind's eye of what happened to America, especially in the immediate wake of COVID, comes from this port and this port complex. The images of the extraordinary people who rose to the occasion as our transportation systems and supply chains faced their most profound and widespread set of disruptions since 9/11. We all remember those images from that time when grocery store shelves were short of everything from ground beef to toilet paper. And then when the administration began and then our economy came roaring back, that image of those 100 massive container ships bearing down on the coast in San Pedro Bay here. Then I think about a very different memory or image, about a setting about as different as it gets, which is the Roosevelt Room in the West Wing of the White House when President Biden gathered together Mario and Gene Soroka from the Port of LA and Willie Adams from ILWU, and we sat at that historic conference table, still wearing our masks back then, talking piece by piece about how to work through these big bottlenecks in the supply chain, how to act together to do something about them. And then I think about all the meetings, dozens, maybe hundreds of meetings that followed over the years in much less storied conference rooms and Zoom rooms that sustained the extraordinary coordination that kept America's economy afloat. And I picture the aerial view looking down at Terminal Island, first on a PowerPoint slide, and then a little bit further up close where an 80-acre yard near here was being repurposed to store chassis and empty containers to creatively address a choke point in the system. And I remember the images of the TV commentators on cable behind their news desks right around this time 3 years ago, beginning breathlessly to predict that Christmas 2021 was going to be pretty much canceled. And then I think about how that Christmas happened to be our kids' first Christmas, was very much not canceled because the men and women at places like the ports of LA and Long Beach moved a record level of goods that year and saw to it that people got more than 99% of their packages on time or with minimal delay. And of course, the goods that came through this port at that time didn't just mean presents under the tree, it meant essential medical goods and countless products and parts that American jobs depended on. And I do remember the sacrifice and the pride of the ILWU workers who took on weekend work and late shifts to keep those goods moving into and out of the port to get where they needed to go. And then there's an image that I've held in my mind for a long time but didn't come around just yet, which is the day we would start to move some dirt, or as my boss would say, turn a spade, on the improvements that we've been talking about, working on, funding to move rail capacity onto the docks here and make it possible for this critical American container port to move even more for the American people. Just as we admire and depend on the port workers who move goods here every day, I'm excited to be with the construction workers from multiple unions about to start physically delivering on the construction to bring about that vision that people here have had for more than 20 years, a vision President Biden was determined to make a reality, which we are now so very proud to support with more than $330 million available through the Biden infrastructure package. So that's why, while I don't get to physically see most or even many of the 54,000 projects and counting that we have going on around the country getting support through this package, I am delighted on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration to join you all to break ground on America's Green Gateway. What a good day for Long Beach and for the American economy. This work builds a rail network on the port that more than triples the volume of cargo that can move by rail to nearly 5 million containers a year. The kind of throughput that'll keep America's economy humming and keep costs down, with benefits in every part of this country as far away from here as our house in Michigan and the house I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, because as we saw during the pandemic, what happens at the biggest port complex in the country affects the whole country. It matters to U.S. producers moving their American-made products out, especially as this administration doubles down on its investment in the American manufacturing renaissance being powered by American workers today. And it's not just the increased volume, it's how goods move. As Mario mentioned, one trip by train is the equivalent of 750 trips by truck. It means that those scarce truck chassis and drivers can concentrate on getting goods to those areas that could not be effectively served by rail. And the shift to rail in that context can reduce greenhouse gas pollution by as much as 75%, meaning less exhaust breathed in by people, including kids who live near the port, not to mention the workers at the port. Through this project and the hundreds of other supply chain improvements we're funding across the country, we're not just fixing supply chains that were upended by the pandemic, we're making our supply chains more resilient against other disruptions. Because even though we can't predict what each one will be, we can predict that we will face many more. It could be a geopolitical conflict like Russia's brutal war against Ukraine. It could be the Houthi attacks against shipping in the Red Sea. It could be the increasingly extreme weather events from climate change, which are causing global shipping disruptions as we speak. America's supply chains have to get better prepared than they were 3.5 years ago, and thanks to this group here and the leadership of President Biden, they are better prepared for those threats and challenges of the future. We're better positioned because of the investments and because of the new freight office that we stood up, the partnerships that we developed, the unprecedented data sharing that we have initiated, all with your support, and because of that new infrastructure. This is a summer of construction. I've been seeing it all over the country. Thousands of miles of road being repaired, over 10,000 bridge repairs underway, over 800 airports being modernized. It is an extraordinary moment. I know I have some Spanish language attendees in media, so I'm going to hope that my Spanish teacher from high school is looking over my shoulder from somewhere as I do my best. Ahora quiero decir unas palabras en español. Me complace estar una vez más en el puerto de Long Beach. En esta ocasión, para celebrar con ustedes el inicio de la construcción de America's Green Gateway. Gracias a la administración Biden-Harris, el puerto finalmente podrá dar vida a este importante proyecto. Con una inversión federal de $300 millones se construirá una red ferroviaria que triplicará el volumen de carga que se mueve en el puerto, bajando el costo de los productos para las familias y mejorando la calidad del aire que respira la comunidad que vive cerca del puerto. That page we'll have to do without, so I'll sum it up a little more succinctly. More velocity, more capacity, less congestion, less pollution, less delay. That is a win, 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 and I'm delighted to celebrate it with you. So congratulations, and let's go move some dirt. Thanks very much. Thank you.